Right, more round one action on Blue Shift. This time I've got Wafflemaster, and this is Wafflemaster, the Terran in the bottom left of the map. And up in the top right I have a Zerg player. It is PapFrankZz. Excellent stuff. I do like to see some Zerg getting involved. So let's see what this player is going to crack out, because we haven't seen any Zerg yet. Zerg works, a little bit differently from the other two. The mechanics are a little bit different. Suits some people, others not so much. In general, Zerg, some of the key features. Zerg will expand much more quickly. A hatchery from the Zerg costs significantly less than a Nexus or a command center. It's 300 rather than 400, but all of the Zerg units come from the hatchery. And they are spawned from these sort of larvae that come out of the hatcheries. So you need to get those extra hatcheries up much more quickly so that you can maintain your production. The other kind of slightly odd thing is that the Zerg player must choose between building workers and units, because they both come from the hatchery. So the Zerg player, unlike the Terran player, can't be simultaneously building both. Oh, and look, it's a proxy. These proxies have really caught on. It's almost like I was encouraging people to cheese like this or not. I I'd like to point out that when I play ladder, I generally don't cheese. Mostly I like straight up games, but I just I post these cheese videos just so that new players to the game have got like a build that they can practice and crank out. What I should start doing is posting videos on how to beat cheese. Anyway, here's what's happening. The Zerg has got a hatchery coming down, has got these 6 Zerglings, and they are going to move out. Now, if he sees this is so dead. The Zerglings will get in here, surround it, and all they've got to do is camp there, and any Marine that comes out of it dies just instantly. But, no vision of that as yet, no vision whatsoever. Likewise, so neither player has seen his opponent's base at all. Now, let's see what's going to happen here. In the production tab, a couple more Zerglings being made, melee attacks being made. Now, interestingly, if you are playing Zerg, this is the spawning pool. It's the structure required so that you can build Zerglings. It's basically your most it's your first sort of production structure. This is the upgrade that you must get. It's the instant go-to. Even if you don't plan a large number of lings in your game and a large number of Zerglings, you still want this upgrade. It substantially increases the movement speed of Zerglings. They just go like twice as fast once that upgrade is done, and they are twice as effective. So rather than the +1 attack, that is the go-to upgrade for Zerg. And in general, +1 attack, while that's useful, if you are going to be upgrading, +1 carapace is probably, that tends to be the more common option that Zerg players go for, because at some point you'll transition out of Zerglings, and the Zerg have separate upgrades for melee and ranged units, whereas this sort of armor upgrade serves all of your units. So that tends to be the go-to. Okay, the reactor on this barracks allows this barracks to build Marines 2 at a time. A second barracks is already finished and is also getting a reactor, and a third barracks comes down. But what I notice is that there aren't any units being trained at this one just yet. So it's all well and good to have the buildings to build it, but you do have to make those units as well. There is a bunch of Marines at home, so I like to see that. This isn't entirely all in. Should some lings arrive here and try and run in, those Marines will deal with it. These 3 barracks here will be able to pump out Marines at a furious rate. This command center being built isn't quite in the right place. It could do with being just a little bit closer to the minerals. So these SCVs, look at the distance here. These SCVs are going to have a little bit of extra distance to cover, and arguably that will mean that they won't mine quite as quickly. There will be gaps. You'll actually need 3 SCVs for mineral patch for these mineral patches to be being nibbled at constantly. But luckily, Terran buildings can be lifted off and flown, so we'll see whether or not that's something that does happen. Back over here, look, the production tab is awfully empty for Wafflemaster, and that's of some concern. You've invested in these for a good reason. You can build 5 Marines at a time here. and those Marines just, you know, while you're not building them, these are just dead weight. Now we do see those in production, so 5 Marines at a time. That is going to crank out stuff awfully quickly. What I would like to see happening is this barracks at home. Build a tech lab on that so that you can get the combat shield upgrade for your Marines. Because if you are going to rush, combat shield is great. A Marine has 45 health. Combat shield essentially adds 10 health to a Marine. Which, you know, 45 to 55 is, well, you guys can do the maths. You're good at that sort of stuff. I don't need to tell you that that is a bonus worth having, and it's a relatively cheap upgrade. So let's see how this many Marines do against this many Zerglings plus a spine crawler. My guess would be not that well, certainly not without combat shield. And now that the roaches are out, if I'm the Zerg player right here, I'd be feeling pretty safe against this. Now, our Zerg player may not know that this is coming, does not know that this is coming, but you know, this spine crawler will dole out a lot of damage from the back. These lings can get us around. The roaches will last forever. You're going to need a lot of unupgraded Marines to break this, an awful lot, and I don't think Wafflemaster has got enough. If we look at the supply, yeah, he does have a supply advantage, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's that's a lot of lings. But this is now getting up to a much scarier number of Marines, and with the Cyclone in the back that can do damage to those roaches, tougher to call. I think now at this point the Terran does have enough to bust this. There's no Queens here to give support, and I would like to see some Queens to give support. So the production tab is looking a little bit light for both players. In particular, the Zerg is beginning to build up minerals, and look, idle larvae. These larvae could be building stuff. These minerals don't have to be just banked. So now is the time for the Terran to strike. If he moves in now, I think there's a good chance he will be successful. We'll see how this goes. The Cyclone goes down, but there's all those Marines standing strong. Couple of mistakes that the Zerg has made here. One, fighting off creep. Your units move much faster on creep and are much more effective, so you want to wait for the Terran to come to you. Two, fighting out of range of this spine crawler, which can do an awful lot of damage. Had the fight happened here, I still think the Terran would have had it, but it certainly would have been a closer run thing, and there would have been far fewer Marines left standing. So it looks like this push from Wafflemaster is going to end the game. A whole lot of lings coming down here, but they're not well placed. Oh no, they're running about. They do need to get into a good position and get that surround. That was a bit ugly. Those lings potentially were enough. The SCVs, these workers are going to have to run for their lives, and really, Wafflemaster, PapFrankZz, you need to be throwing down spine crawlers here, and you need to be getting roaches out, because I just don't think lings are going to do it. To be honest, even roaches at this point, I think it's gone too far, and all we're waiting for now is the GG. So the big push from Wafflemaster. In the end, he didn't rush it per se. He did wait until he had critical mass of Marines, and when he did attack, actually did have in the end a substantial army advantage, and that was enough to carry him through. A couple of things that PapFrankZz could have done. As I say, make sure you're always fighting on creep. You don't want to fight off creep. Have some Queens for extra support, and make sure if you've got static defense like a spine crawler, make sure that you're fighting within range of that spine crawler, otherwise it isn't doing you any favours. A little bit of micro mismanagement there with these Zerglings mean that those lings are actually spending a reasonable amount of time just running about, not actually attacking, and that you want to avoid as well. Wafflemaster, meanwhile, you know, this is an interesting placement. A couple of sort of little bits of macro mismanagement, but a reasonably polished, practiced execution of a very strong push. And there it is, GG.